Very good morning. Welcome back. This is the last session of the follow-up and of this month's Sanjeevani retreat. And I'd just like to say you'll get an announcement coming up from Zoom as this meeting is being recorded for Spanish group. So I'd like to welcome you with some reflective quotes and on this subject that was shared last time about the cycle of time and also the significance of this time, which today I understand will be spoken about in more depth. And this is by Miguel de Cervantes, who said that to be prepared is half the victory. And I somehow feel this is so precious. I always used to like to be prepared in advance, but now in the world, it's so confusing, complicated world. It's hard to know what to prepare for and how. But from the spiritual model, to understand to be spiritually prepared and what that means, how we can do it. And the more we understand, the more it'll become clearer for each one of us. And another quote, this is Niels Bohr, who's physicist, specialist in quantum physics. Every great and deep difficulty bears in itself its own solution. It forces us to change our thinking in order to find it. And so it depends on our own personal lives, but is a general sense that the world's complications are so vast that it's pushing us to find a radical solution to a radical problem. And when we understand what is happening in the inner world, if there is going to be any heads of Ravan, then you can't solve Ravan with Ravan. So we need to bring in this new injection into this story, into this drama world. And I think digging deeper will reach this clarity and fruit from spiritual ideas. Something to reflect on, and we'd love to hear your comments, your thoughts on what's come up so far for you, and questions, of course. So I'm now going to see if Prashant is around, if he's ready. And thanks to everyone who managed to go through the re-registration process. We hope it wasn't problematic.
I might need some help.
Yes, okay. So maybe we'll ask Peter to share a few words, and I'll come and help Prashant with some technical difficulties meanwhile. And just let Peter unmute himself for a moment.
Yeah, hi Sarah, thanks. Hi everyone. Yeah, I suppose it's always to me about this practice of seeing the truth and living from that. And it's almost like once we see it, we naturally
what has
live.
happened? It has gone to this.
Yeah, so
need to select
it takes on a form of more than just meditation, and more than it's more like life itself, I think. And life itself becomes, if you want, the meditation or the focus, and but a focus on truth. You know, what is life? What is life all about? I've always been interested in that. And where I mean, when coming to the Brahma Kumaris, we first understand where we come from. Hello, Prashant. Over to you.
Peter, please complete. Yes.
Oh yes, I just about actually. I was just talking about the overall experience of the practice, and I think practice. I like this word practice because it means, you know, if you do practice, you get better at it. We may not be so great at the start, but as we practice, we develop and grow and have experiences which encourage us. So I think this word practice, I really like that. Thanks.
Excellent.
Thank you, Peter. And I like this emphasis on keep practicing and making it easy for ourselves, using the right tool for the job, which we all have, just need to use it. So good, and Prashant is with us with full camera. So welcome to Prashant, welcome to everyone.
Thank you. So let us create another minute of silence. And these minutes here, they're so precious. It is like a life-giving herb. It helps this higher consciousness to come back to life. It is as precious as that. So in a second, we come to that space of the invisible soul. And the soul is, when he is conscious, he sees himself as that presence. But the beautiful thing about the one who is conscious, he understands his independence from the story. Complete independence. And one is understanding the independence and knowing the physical story, but also understanding how small the story is. And in a true sense, no one can change it. It is a film that no one can change, no one need to change. That is the way it is. So that just stops any level of waste of any kind. We don't need to go into the story and dissect and try to understand. No, that is a story there. That freedom from the story is a most precious thing. That is what is emphasized, spiritual attainment. There is freedom. And with the freedom comes also, is connected with full clarity. The invisible soul, invisible traveler is clear, is aware of what is happening, who he is. Excellent. Thank you. I'll be going back to the board. And appreciate you understanding the break in between 1 day gap. In our, normally we have it 3 continuous days, and this time there has to be a break. And just re-registering, but appreciate you managed to do all that. We have seen so far the spiritual model. We saw how it is, but we also understand how bizarre the model of the world is in comparison to this. If this is a film, and if this is a world which is to be observed, film is independent, it is separate from you. What is happening? How bizarre that at present all these clever people, they are lost within the film. What they teach schools, what they teach students, it is the starting position itself has gone wrong. And they are trying to analyze the beginning of the things that if they see a bone, they are trying to analyze where did this or a bone, what is the duration of the bone. It is a bit like, you are watching a 2-hour long film, and in the film there is a bone of a dog, and they are saying, oh, look at this bone, and this bone is million-year old. The film itself is of 2 hours long. When you are seeing seeing from the model of the film, you realize how absurd these ideas are. And just that it's the majority, and majority is under confusion. That is the only difference. But we have to discern ourselves. We have to make our own little research. Okay, this is the film. Experience that freedom that you get. It to begin with, it will be glimpses where nothing matters. What is in the script, what is in the film, nothing matters. You understand your independence and your freedom from the film. That leads to so many other things. Like if you are free from the film and you understand the independence, you then continue to discover the world beyond. And the world beyond, there is the family. In a film, there are many things going on, but beyond, your true family is beyond. But here it leads to you seeing your true father. And so here, if we use this board, so here is our home. We said the real world. In the real world are the potential audience, and they are invisible actors. But when we say it is a film, more visible observers. And we said they watch a film, and it just, we just use this language. Film is a film. All films are cyclical because they begin at a certain point and it comes back again. It ends at a certain point and then you start at the beginning. So all films that you see in any theater, they're cyclical. And in this particular film, we saw the other side of it. As we are going through this journey, we gradually get drawn into this. So that's another drama going on. So it's going down the spiral. And that is what is shown. First, it is in the deity phase, then it becomes the warrior, then it becomes merchant, it becomes Shudra and demon, and then the Brahmin again. We have seen that in the same journey of the soul, and we can see what happens. All along, the new souls are joining this theater, observers. I think Obama and all have joined at this point, but some others, have joined before. King Henry VIII was here, possibly. New souls who are joining, and the new souls have got a smarter part. The older souls are, they will not be having the smart part. So if someone is becoming the king, that is bound to be unlikely that he is an old soul. Those who start here, they were deities, and they were also kings, and they were masters of matter. They were in the golden age, heaven. But as the time down this journey, then they have got a burden of bondage, and they become warriors, merchants, shudras, and with that comes also Vinash forces. So they are struggling with their life, whilst some others are becoming kings and the presidents, and they are lucky. They may find themselves, whatever research they do, they suddenly get a big fruit of it, get Nobel Prizes. Sometimes you see this, like Alexander Fleming. He did not even do the proper study. He found that this fungus creates, enzyme. It is effective. He mentioned about this, but did not do anything more. Someone else do the research, and he gets the Nobel Prize, and people then worship Alexander Fleming. Drama is like this, Alexander Fleming is the one who is connected with penicillin, but the history is showing that the hard work was done by two others. But these are new souls. Everyone gets prizes, and something becomes a reason, some excuse for their reward. But older ones, they got burdened, and they get defamations and penalties, and there is no reason for that either. But that is the way it is. It is all a purification process. Older souls are more slave to certain. Ravan is there. Ravan is bigger. That's why Shudra and demon is still there in older souls. Now we are at the best thing that can happen to us at the present time, at the confluence age, is understand the right method. We are so close, even here in this gathering. It is very fortunate to be here right now discussing. But then to know the right method, to interpret it right way, and apply it, then you get results, and big results. If it is just compromised, the right method is it's not fine-tuned, you're just off the center, you don't get the highest results. Purification is not faking things, it is making. So to do this, you have to understand, interpret in the right way. Understand? And just I give the example often. Say we are using this technology and online, but there is in this room, there is light, electricity. If there is one wire is connected in the wrong way, but even here in the computer world, something wrong, then we will not get the big results. We'll get some results, but not the big results. Things will crash. When everything is done accurately, then we get results. It is extraordinary. We are able to join from different places, different parts from your homes. It is extraordinary, but right wire is connected to the right place. something even slightly wrong, you don't get the best results. Spirituality is like science, and there has to be accuracy. It has to be understood accurately. Then you get big results. Emphasizing it just so that we don't make it sort of vague. And a little effort. Some people have that extra sort of speciality to trying to understand precisely, accurately, and then putting it into practice. In this our game, it is made because to begin with, we understand everything with Patthar intellect. Patthar intellect cannot understand it. So whilst that is going on, you have to develop your paras. Strong paras can understand differently. Excellent. So we will move to today's subject, different subject today. Definitely type your questions based on the subject of cycle and our journey and film, understanding that we are dealing with the film, and who are dealing with the film? Invisible souls. Invisible souls are the players in this film. Yes, excellent. Today what we are going to speak is some understanding of the prophets and what exactly is happening there. And God, He is the highest and supreme being. We saw Ram. Ram is the one who doesn't cross the line. He is wisest. Okay, but does he play a part? He's so wonderful, but how do we connect with him, and does he play any part that makes it easy for us? So we are going to see this. First thing to know is here during the golden age are the deities. During the silver age, there are great kings. They are also deities, but not deities. In golden age, there is that perfection and sparkle. Things are changing by the silver age. From the copper age onwards, the sorrow begins. That's why the prophets, have the part from the copper age. Prophets and the saints, their part starts from the copper age and it continues into the iron age. Prophets continue in different ways. This knowledge says that little details about the birth of the prophets. How does that happen? With human beings, when human souls come in the physical world, they come in the womb when the fetus, is 12 weeks to 20 weeks of age. Between 12 and 20 weeks. This is the sort of time. And in the medical world, they will say that is exactly the time when quickening happens. And quickening means when the mother notices the movement of the baby. And in some cases, mother tells it is at 10 minutes past 4. Today, I noticed the movements. So they are very, very clear movements that start on a certain day. Prior to that, fetus still got movements, but they are passive movements. The movements, it is not completely, but passive. Hands, legs, they move in a small way. But from that moment of quickening, there is a different activity that is noticed. it is active. Someone is actively moving hands, legs. After 5th month, the ears, the system, auditory system is developed. And so they notice that more clearly how baby responds to sounds. So sometimes, mother herself tells that if you play certain music, she says, I know my baby is happy. You play another music, baby is unhappy. The child responds to the sounds that the child hears. So the medical world says the consciousness is definitely there after the 5th month, which is when the ears develop. So roughly 20 weeks of pregnancy. So this is the story with ordinary humans, ordinary mortals. We come in the womb around, as we said, when the fetus is 12 weeks pregnant of age, just gestation. But mother is 12 weeks pregnant. What happens with prophet souls? You see a very interesting pattern with with prophets. This knowledge says prophet souls, they do not come in the womb, but they come in an adult body. How and why? How does it come? The example of Christ is a good example. So with Christ, what happens? There was Jesus. This model says Jesus was born in a simple, just like any other child is born. That is the way Jesus is born. And Jesus grows, and he is the age of 30. It is a human birth that happens. And history tells us that until the age of 30, there was nothing extraordinary that was seen in this being called Jesus. But at the age of 30, we know that there is a big transformation happens in him. Superficially, we say, oh, there is transformation. But when you see from spiritual model, it says that at that moment of transformation, there is a new soul that comes in the body of Jesus. So it is not just Jesus suddenly changed, that level of change doesn't happen that easily. One can do many things in that short time. Such a huge change doesn't happen. So here, the prophet soul, and we can use the word Christ soul. So that is a Jesus, and Jesus soul it has its own journey, and there is a Christ soul. He comes now. The prophet soul comes from the soul world. He's clean and pure. And so he is able to play the part directly from the adult body. And because he is 100% clean, he is able to see clearly what is truth and what is not truth, and nothing is confused. So he is in that deity and pre-deity phase. Deity phase, we said, when they start coming down the spiral, already, but he is in that phase. The soul is 100% pure. Interesting for us to know that the early Christianity knew this. And this understanding is mentioned in the early Christianity. So they do speak of the divine soul. That is the language they use. The divine soul comes in the body of Jesus. And they said, why does he come in an adult body? They said, if he was to come in the womb, he would have lost power. By the time he would be, of the age when he can perform action, he would have not been able to play that part. So the prophet soul need to come later, and the body is ready for that. So that happens at the age of 30. They also said in the reason it is called virgin birth, and for the birth of Christ, for there is no lust involved. So the birth of the prophet soul is pure and virgin birth. That doesn't say much about the birth of Jesus. It doesn't imply what the birth of Jesus was pure, but the birth of Christ was pure. Also, at the time of death, when the crucifixion is happening, the last words that were spoken on the cross, they are not the words of the prophet. All along, the prophet says, forgive them. They don't know what they are doing. My Father, love them. That is the position of Christ all along. It is like coming from that higher space. And last moment, he suddenly, what do you know? Do you remember? What are the last words?
Maybe busy typing. You have left me, or why hast thou forsaken me?
Yeah. These are the words. So these are the words of doubt. And Christian scholars say they don't appear to be the words of the prophet. They appear to be human words. And that might as well the case be, because the soul of the prophet is free largely. He came to perform the part, and when it is not required, not possible, he is able to leave the body. But the soul of Jesus, if it is a human soul and has got bondages, all along he had this company of the most wonderful, not just because he is prophet, but it is a energy of love and happiness and his contentment. That was the energy that he was experiencing. And suddenly this great friend, he is not there. So that's why for Jesus, this is like God, you can say. So he says at that moment, why hast thou forsaken me? You left me here and I have to deal with this cross, I gave my life to your task and suddenly I am on the forsaken me. So that is human words. After that, both souls continue in the establishment of their task. There is birth and rebirth that continues. And this is like a good model, the Christ. What this knowledge says, this phenomena applies to all the prophets. All those who play a big part, especially spiritually a significant part, their birth happens as a prophet reincarnation in an adult body directly. It doesn't go through the childhood and that phase, but comes in an adult. So you will see a similar pattern. 30 years of age, sudden transformation. You will see it with Buddha. You will see a similar pattern with Muhammad. Muhammad himself used to say, hey, Archangel Gabriel using his body. You will see similar pattern with all the prophets. It is around the age of 30 transformation. But the more recent, if you go into the history, Aurobindo, possibly born about 100 years ago, and you will see pattern, at the age of 30, sudden transformation. And then there is a Aurobindo Society, Aurobindo Ashram. You will see something similar with Vivekananda. Viveka.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
What happens to the original soul that was in situ when the prophet soul enters the physical body? So in this case, the Jesus soul.
Talking with one person, who is having similar experience, she gave the comparison of a 100-watt bulb and a 10-watt bulb. It is like that, she said. If there is, you are there, you know everything that is happening, but you are as if observer of what is happening also. So that is the way to understand it. So it must be similar experience with all the prophets also.
And in this case, because it's something auspicious, I am assuming that the observing is must be enjoyable.
Yes,
experience.
yes, because as we said before, the other soul is a pure soul, and it is pure. It doesn't come with a label pure, but it comes with that energy of bliss and love and peace and contentment, full, clean. Just like physically, if we have some company who is in a certain space, you enjoy that company. Another person, you do not particularly, there's a different energy, and you don't want to be in that company. Here, it is the highest company one can get.
And so just to clarify, so you're saying that both cells coexist in the body at the same time in this case?
That's right. That's right.
The example of Aurobindo, the soul that entered the body of Aurobindo, was that a prophet soul, and was there a religion that was formed?
Yes, these are like a smaller branches, smaller religion, but you will see that there is Pondicherry is a main place for this society, and there is a religion established around it. He passed away around 1950, and then that is Auroville. Some might have heard this word, Auroville. So there is, he himself was powerful, but then there are others who try to understand what he said, this kind of thing. And you see this pattern. Vivekananda also, at the age of 30, there is a transformation in him. But also there is a huge power in how the other people could spot what is going on in him and want to understand him, know that he's someone different to anybody else. This kind of thing.
Few quick questions that if you could just clarify before we continue. So Jesus is not originally Christian, is this correct? I think he was born into the Jewish branch.
Not going into that, but the history tells us the details. Here we are talking about the process of how the prophets come. For instance, when Jesus was born, there was no Christian religion. That is that we all know.
And just there are questions about, is this a similar phenomenon with Raj Ramahan Roy and Brahma Samaj? And then another question, Sri Satya Sai Baba. It's like, are we seeing phenomena in many different branches of these?
Yeah, don't know. Some people don't know the names, but enough to know that phenomena exist. And if we go into the details, you might see the pattern, and if you see the pattern like that, then it is likely that there is a prophetic incarnation. But don't know we don't need to go into that kind of details. But here we are trying to understand just the phenomena. But this understanding of the phenomena helps us to go to the next level. And what is the next level? We are trying to understand what happens at the confluence age. We said this confluence age is a very strategic age. During this age, the huge shift takes place. We are at the bottom of Iron Age, and then we are coming into the Golden Age. This is not a small change, a huge shift. It is not external change, it is a change of the human character and personality, when no one can easily change people like that. So big change happens at the end of this confluence age. So what happened during this confluence age? So that is one question. Other thing to know, as we saw just now, that during this cycle, there are deities and there are kings and there are prophets and sages and mahatmas and scholars and who else? Many, many wonderful people who want to bring benefit. And now there are so many books being written about happiness and about self-change and self-management. So much going on. But after all this, we are getting Iron Age. And we are getting more problems and more mental problems also. They're not small thing. These are people, we are talking about big institutions working really, really hard. And after all this, we are getting worse. Situations everywhere is getting worse. And we are ready to destroy this planet, on many fronts. So how do you get this golden age? So we are also saying no one is able to achieve all this. And this big change happens during this confluence age. So there has to be some new injection, new energy. And where does that happen? Where does this new energy come from? And that is where we mentioned at one point, there has to be incarnation of God himself. Ram stays behind the line. Behind the line is behind the line of ignorance. But he doesn't stay just in the soul world. Behind the line or not, it is tested only when you are here in the drama. So for the Supreme Being, he does play a part on the stage. And if he plays the part on the stage, we can expect he will have a pattern similar to the prophets. He will not be taking birth in the model of the human being. Now, this background helps us understand the story, and this institution, the story of this institution is the story of God's task, God's incarnation. And this all starts in the year 1936, end of 1936, more so. And during this time, the central figure was, at that time he was called different, but in time he was called Brahma Baba. Baba is just a title of endearment, bit like father. So he was 60 years of age at that time. So in that sense, different. Most other prophets come at a younger age. So body was 60 years, and you notice that there is a change. He was just living an ordinary life. He was not planning to start a religion or change the world or create a golden. This is not what he was thinking about. But there was incarnation, and that presented by he getting series of visions. That was the uniqueness at this time, getting visions, and in the visions, seeing many things of the future and the details. And he's trying to make sense of all this, what he's seeing. And as that was going on, he also noticed that many others who are in his contact or connection, they were either getting dreams. In the dreams, they would see him, and they would get messages. Sometimes some come to see him and get go into trance experience, and then come back, tell what you saw. You saw heaven, saw golden age, saw God, and this was what was going on. The city was Hyderabad in Sindh. So if you see some newspapers of that time, this was like one of the dominating drama that was going on at that time. And drama was, on one hand, people were getting visions, but then there were also people who were saying, I don't want to lead an ordinary life anymore. I want to change. I want to bring about change. I don't want to go back to my old behavior. And that does create reaction from the family. If suddenly the wife loses interest in ordinary life and wants spiritual life when no one else is understanding, it creates the reaction. In a short time, we are talking about 1936 to 1937, but by that time, 37, 38, we are talking about more than 450 people literally had to move away from the family, and they created a like a community campus where they stayed for some next 14 years. That went on. So we are talking about here small place. Hyderabad will have a population smaller than Bristol in this, less than 1 million population at that time. And the 450 and move and stay in that community. But you get an idea, possibly 3 times more people one would have liked to go, but for whatever reason couldn't go. But this gives you an idea how the city was rocked by this process that was going on. For the large majority, this was an obstacle. If someone in the families, like in some case, it could be the young girl which is okay, but in some cases it may be the mother, in some cases it may be the father. Whole society was rocked by this. But any beginning, starts in a certain way. And so they stayed in that community for next 14 years. And during these 14 years, they had to work on themselves and started, establishing the. There were words that were spoken through the body of Brahma. And in the beginning, it was seen as okay, Brahma is sharing his, some spiritual knowledge. But in time, Brahma himself realized that what was spoken, they were not his ideas. They were new ideas for him. And so in time, it became clear to him that his body was used by for the divine task, and the soul, which the incarnate here, we use the word Shiva, and Baba is a word for God or Father. So Shiv Baba, we are using this word synonymous with God. And in short, we are using the word Baba imply. So whenever you hear the word Baba, we are talking about Shiv Baba. And so here is the Supreme Soul, the Ram of the Sita, one who we said, who promises Sita to be freed from Ravan. He has a part, and his part starts in this way, and it comes in the body of this instrument. And the words that are spoken by Baba, those words we call murlis. Murli is, in our language, murli means literature, the words spoken by Baba at that time. So let us hear some thoughts from you.
Just one moment.
Yes, on this particular subject, probably there will be some questions, but at the moment I'm processing. We had some questions from earlier, if I can ask them now.
Yeah.
We're looking at the newer versus older souls. What about those who are experiencing both the significant reward or recognition in one area of life drama whilst being presented with major challenges or pain in another area of life? Would this be a new or an old soul?
Any problem, and if it feels like a problem, these are old souls.
Would it be said that the oldest souls would be the most, with the most vice, and achievement would be more challenging compared to those who have less vice? I think this is translated from Spanish, so it's not sure if we've really got the essence of the question, but
yeah, in essence, what is said is right. There is no Ravan at the beginning. deities, souls are clean. So Ravan is zero. But as we go, gradual, we are feeding Ravan, without knowing. But Ravan is still small. But by the time we reach here, goodness, Ravan's 10 heads, we have been feeding, and it is a society. Just like right now, Afghanistan, it is a Taliban government. A Taliban will create its program, a full program, whatever it is. It will create structures, airport is used for their program, and education will be for their program. It is meant for their policies, whatever the policies are. In the same way, during the Copper Age, Iron Age, Ravan is the king. And so everything is meant for Ravan, and Ravan gets bigger and bigger, So say certain technology comes, new technology. Who promotes which technology should be taken further? It is Ravan. I like this entertainment. I like this. So that is what will be promoted by the institutions, and that is what people will buy, because Ravan is the one who chooses what he's going to do. They call it hits. Different heads of Ravan have got their hits. Let us have coffee. What is next? Let us eat some. Let me eat something. What next? Let me watch something. Different heads of Ravan. So more impure. I agreed. Attachments will be also bigger. Taking sorrow from attachment, taking sorrow from ego, and all these things will be. In those who are newer souls, things can come and go, but they will not be taking sorrow from it. Things are still, drama is drama. Things come and things go, but those who are new souls, and they will find, that is, can handle it more easily, lightly.
Okay, that's helpful. Just wanting to get another translation here. Yes, one thing that came up from this model of understanding the role of God is that it removes that feeling, which for me also came from ideas of religion, that God is somehow responsible for the way the world is today. And even in insurance policy, they call it act of God when it's like natural calamity, flooding or earthquakes. And this idea that he's coming for the task of removing Ravan. So God is not responsible for the sorrow, but he is bringing Sanjeevani of knowledge to Sita to be free from the enemy, this inner enemy of Ravan. Which I think it needs a lot of reflection, because maybe it's a question within it. How does God change the drama, and in what way?
If there is a film, anyone who is sensible, he knows that there is no need to change any film. There are so many films in this world. Some are, all kinds of films. I don't think I'm going to go and change the films. But if my friend is confused, I would like to help the friend become free from confusion. If my friend is so much in sorrow because Harry Potter was, not treated nicely by the wizard in the film, I will say film is not a problem. Wizard is not a problem. There is a problem here with my friend. He needs to get out of this, confusion. Same here. Anyone who is the wisest, he will see that film doesn't need changing. But the players invisible players. They need to come out of confusion, come out of bondage, and come out of ego. Ravan is embodiment of all this. Ravan is absolutely trapped in the film. Ravan is the one who wants to change the film. Ram doesn't say he wants to change the film.
It's a good checking of positioning and understanding. We have a question. What is the difference between prophet souls and God in this case?
Sure.
And how to recognize it as God?
Yeah. Prophet souls play the part, they have power, and that is agreed, but they are not able to play the part for the souls of the world to become like them. And that they can teach how not to fall further. That is what they are telling. They bring in some new angle to the understanding of life, but they are not able to stop the fall. That is what we see, and also at a practical level. Whereas God is the one who plays the part of taking Sita out of Ravan, taking souls up the spiral. Other way to know, we have not spoken that in detail, but essence we can understand. We are in this, let's see the home. There's the home. We said there are all the souls here, and the souls from the home come in the physical world. But at a certain point, in the home itself, these souls, there is as if the pattern. There are souls who are going to come in the golden age, they are here. Souls who are going to come later, silver age, they are here. But then there are other souls who are going to come later, they are here. And there is almost like a tree pattern, in an incorporeal tree in the home. So it is branches. We call these branches of the tree. There are, as any tree, as it expands, there are different branches. And branches have their own foundation. So there are branches here, branches of race, branches of religion, branches of nationality, and the branching of science also. So each of these branch has its own founder. You can say their branch founder. And so when these founders are the prophets. So when the prophet comes, the Christ comes, he provides the structure that helps others in that branch. And in what way does it help? It slows down the fall. It doesn't help them to become Christ, because we know no one became like Christ after Christ. But the structure he establishes slows down the fall of the souls who come after him. In that branch. And there is a branch here of Buddha, and those who come in that branch, and those who belong to that branch, they come after that prophet. And the prophet, that particular Buddha in this case, is that structure that he establishes that slows down the fall of the soul. And in some cases, that may be very strict disciplines, and some punishments, and in some cases love, some cases the structure of meditation, prayer. In its own way, it will tell to slow down it doesn't tell to become free from the vices, but reduce the vices. The task of God, he says, become free from Ravan, 100% free, not even a thought. And it is a time of, and it applies to all the souls of the world. All have to become pure. So that is the difference.
That's very helpful. Lots of this needs quite a bit of reflection, but it definitely answers the question and congruent with the model. All prophets here, a question, all prophets undertake a journey to spread the message, but in this case, is it located in one place? Not sure if in this case.
It all starts at a certain place, but Christ did not travel beyond one country. So also different. It starts in a certain place, but at the present time, it is a message for all the souls of the planet, and that is what is happening. All the souls receive the message.
Yes, and one thought about how to recognize it as God. It would be what helps you to be free from Ravan in a successful way, and then it would be more clear that it is Ram, because only Ram removes Ravan if we are taking this story. Just a point about came earlier with the new souls, old souls. If someone is achieving things in their assigned role in the drama, is it right they shouldn't think it's a product? Shouldn't they think it's a product of their effort rather than luck, because they are a newer soul, because then their effort would cease? Is the question clear?
No, just mind to repeat again.
Yes, if those who are achieving things in their assigned role in the drama, they probably shouldn't think it's a product of their luck, but it would be better it's a product of their effort. Otherwise, they wouldn't make that effort.
Yeah, it is not implied that way. Whatever, some might think one way, some might think other way, but drama goes on.
And will we go through the same actions we performed each time? Is it a repeating drama? And then if it's the case, how can we prevent? Can we prevent anything? Where does effort come in?
Yeah, film is a film. Film is, if you watch this film again, it will be the same film that you will see the second time. So also here we are dealing with a film. That's the way it is. So if there is any change that needs to be done, is we come out of confusion. That's a major thing. That's the most important thing that needs to happen. We said earlier that Ram doesn't want to change the film, but Ram wants to change the souls, and to make souls free from confusion. Ravan is the one who is, trying to change the past and trying to complain about this and worry about this. He's obsessed with changing Harry Potter and changing the wizard. And that is Ravan's obsession. In our case, once you are in clarity, whatever you are doing, it will be right.
Okay, so I hope that helps some of the questions. So we have a few more minutes before we could maybe take a break for some discussion. Is there anything you wanted to share to complete on this
Yes,
subject?
yeah, I just want to bring in one more aspect in this. We spoke about the Murlis. We spoke about the time of 1936 and then up to 1950s. They spent 14 years making personal efforts. And then the drama continues from 1950s. What happens next? Around in the 50 onwards, they move away from Hyderabad. From Hyderabad, they had moved to Karachi in 1937, 38, that sort of time. And in 1950s, in between there was a partition of India. So they moved from Pakistan to India. And so they established themselves in Mount Abu. This happens in 1950. By 1969, so another 19 years, time was spent there. And during this time, they also moved away from the main place, moving to different cities and towns within India, and activities starting within the country, in India. So that happens from 1950 to 1969, 19 years. In 1969, January, Brahma Baba, the soul of Brahma Baba, in whose body Baba entered, he leaves the body. So we use the word karmatit just one word to not necessarily, to remember. Karmatit is the stage where the soul has become free from all bondages, all ignorance. And it's clean, 100% clean, to play the part to the next level. In other words, one who is Karmatit is ready for golden age. So this is what happens in 1969, January. And Brahma Baba has his own part after that, and we'll come to know more about that. But Baba, that is God's part, continues in the body of another instrument, and we use the word Dadi Gulzar. The soul of the Shiv Baba, the soul, comes in the body of Dadi Gulzar and continues to play the part of speaking the Murli. And through the medium of Brahma Baba, it used to be more frequent. Through the body of Dadi Gulzar, it was less frequent. But Murlis continued from 1969 almost very, very regularly until year 2020. Only in the year 2020 or 2021, I think, that the Gulzar leaves the body. And now the promise from Baba is Baba's part will continue till the end. And he's got a plan. So we have to understand that there is a plan and Baba's part will continue. Excellent. Do you want to say anything or add anything?
On this topic, there aren't any, sorry, the camera on this topic, no immediate questions. For someone who's been associated with these ideas for a shorter time, what is the what can they do to strengthen paras to achieve results quickly? Because someone who is new may feel that others who've had longer time to process these ideas may have a head start. Do you want to say anything about that topic at this point?
Yes. At a very practical level, we have got a structure program for meditation, online also Zoom or practical level. And that is like an important part. We approach the subject from many angles, and different things have to be made stronger. Paras has to be made stronger, soul consciousness has to be. We also need to recognize different traps and different ego, different bondage. It is like all round, attention is required. We need to be a good student, and the priority has to change. You realize that this is more important for me than anything else. I want to give it a good try. So becoming a good student, it involves understanding things. So, but I appreciate the question. Very fact one understands. Time is short. If I am a little bit late in reaching some place, then I have to. Options are still there. I may have to walk a bit faster, to reach there in a short time. And no waste, to cut down on waste. That will be very important. One can go sometimes faster than others if someone really understands the value of time.
There was a conversation recently, and it was more clear that fast effort is accurate effort, because if you want to get to London, but you're moving very fast, but you might be going in the direction of Manchester, so fast effort, but in the right direction, then you get to the destination. So checking the direction and refining it feels very empowering. So yes, we can. Would you like to pose a question for the discussion at this point?
This may be the good question. In what way can we, having understood the overall knowledge, we are now in the last part of it. What does it mean to be a good student? Brahmin means a student, and if we are choosing that phase and that life, we might as well be a good student.
Yes, thank you. So it's a practical way to apply some of these concepts to present moment to each one of us. So having a think what it means to the self. Of course, we're having rooms, but it's an ongoing question for all of us. And I hope you feel inspired and you get a chance to inspire others. And we'll meet back in just over 10 minutes. Welcome back, everybody. Hopefully, you had enough time to share with each other and be inspired and inspire. So let's take maybe this moment to really think in our own minds what we learned. What was it that I took from this opportunity? What's the newness? And then we'll come back and hear from a guest speaker. Thank you. If you feel like sharing in the chat, then it would be very nice to hear what's on your mind. Meanwhile, I'm going to invite our connection from Istanbul today. I'm just going to allow her to unmute. And yeah, so we are joined by Apex, joining from Istanbul, who's been with us for the last 10 days and already associated with Brahma Kumaris. And it would be lovely to hear from you, your thoughts, experiences of the retreat. Warm welcome. Oh, I think I inadvertently muted you, so sorry. As you were unmuting, I asked you to unmute. Oh, I did. Okay, third time lucky. There we go.
Okay, now it's okay. Okay, this was a very nice retreat, actually. Actually, I knew all the knowledge because I'm in this knowledge for about 10 years. And I've taken this course, but as an official way. It's generally a 7 days course in Brahma Kumaris. Just taught in 7 days, general 8 days, and it's not consecutively always, but still it was more official in an official way, because there's a standard generally to be taught, like there's a material that which every teacher can teach from. But here it was different. I thought it would be the 7 days course, but it wasn't like that. It was like a kind of, there were stories, examples, and analogies, and also some things from the Indian scripture. And so it was really different, and it deepened my understanding of Gia, and I could get some examples to use when I also teach to others. So it was very beneficial, and I think for the beginners it's especially beneficial because it was taught in an entertaining way. It wasn't boring at all. So even if one is not so close to this knowledge, still one can take things step by step and get used to it. No knowledge is sudden here. I mean, so everybody can get adapted to it. So I think it's a very good program for each of us. And this is my experience. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and for sharing with short notice. And you just reminded me of one of my students who teaching English, and she's got a very scientific background, but once had the opportunity to share the chicken and the eagle story And it's amazing how you can communicate a lot with the story. And she understood it, and she got a feeling about it, but we didn't go too far into the ideas, but it gives framework to understand a lot about spirituality in our lives. And at some point when we're ready, we can explore further in an enjoyable way, I think, with stories. And yeah, so that was interesting. And also that we can share these stories with others and get an experience of how to be light, and give each other the structures to process what's going on. If maybe the chicken world is going well, we get to observe successful chicken, and how to really help the eagle. Yes, and look forward to continuing to connect. So we would like to bring Prashant back for last 15 minutes. We do have a few questions, and maybe there's some final thoughts to help empower this baby eagle to be stable in that flight mode.
Yes, sure. Hello, and it's so nice to hear from IPEC, and thank you. So let us create another minute of attention. And attention necessarily means you are going for the best, and it may appear so radical. We literally seeing that this invisible player who is completely independent of the film, and Prashant is part of the film. There is a script, and episodes finish. So freeing. Invisible player is never a beggar and never a victim. What a powerful thing to know. Never. Invisible player is never in the film, never a beggar, never a victim. Remains forever noble. He knows of his life with the King of Kings, his world of immortality and fullness. That's why invisible player, the form is just a point, but he is also the Prince of Princes who belongs to the King of Kings, eternal Prince. We get a glimpse of this now. We remind ourselves of this often. Understand the truth. Ultimately, truth is what that survives. If we are dangling in that film for whatever reason, it is not just a little false, it is bizarre. Even children don't create attachments in the film. We understand the absurdity. We go for full clarity, maybe for 1 minute, and understand that this is what has to become more and more natural. That is the aim. The invisible player needs to become conscious in a stable way. Just knowing is not a transformation. Knowing is a first step. And this big prize is right in front of our nose. And we have the option to experience it and be free from unnecessary confusion, unnecessary bondage, and be free from this stubborn ego. Thank you. So let us hear some questions. And maybe, Peter also might like to answer some difficult questions. We'll send them to Peter. We send difficult questions to Australia.
He's looking ready, ever ready. It's good. So yes, it's just a general question here. When there are like entertaining moments in this drama of life, humor, experience of wonder and beauty, natural wonders, and maybe through the arts, and that makes one happy, is it advisable to enjoy these things whilst avoiding over attachment or becoming attached? Do you have any comments on that?
Yeah, sure. And the most important is the angel wakes up. That's the most important. Whatever angel does is good. It is coming from that space of fullness, and he has the right attitude towards everything. He's not approaching as a beggar. If the angel is not conscious and demon, the other option is the demon. There is no middle ground. Ego is demonic, as we saw. It is Ravan's progeny. Then innately, whatever he does is wrong. Even if he sings song of love, that is also wrong. You have to be cautious. So if he is appreciating art, even there is some problem within it, because the demon is involved. But at this stage, I won't worry too much about those. We have to deal with the big demons first. Some our strong obsessions and addictions, lust, those are the ones, those heads of Ravan need to be removed first. And then automatically the other things fall in place.
Yes, I think that helps, because then you get perhaps a sense of the contrast and direction, and also the attainment from being able to be free from some of the bigger heads, the bigger bullies. On the subject of attachment, is it good to have attachment to God? To have, is it a positive dependency, to depend purely and exclusively on God? And if so, how to take advantage of this? It's like, is it a vice?
Whatever that is eternal, you have a right on it. Our only question is something that is transient, not to become dependent on it. That's because you will be deceived. So whether you call it attachment or your bondage to the world of Ram, that you have a right there.
So attachment to things which are truly yours is not creating a problem.
Yes.
You might not call it attachment, but yes, that's a helpful way to bring oneself to that level. So there aren't really any other questions, actually. We've sort of got through them. So maybe at this point, unless Prashant, you wanted to share, we can hear from Peter. Peter has any comments, anything that comes up for you from the discussion or today's session?
There was a good group we had, and we had some nice discussions about, particularly about lifestyle, how to stay on the path, really. I think it was mostly about how to be sure I'm on the right path, and what are some
perhaps methods to help stay on that path. The example was given of driving a car. You have to be very conscious of your controls, the things that are in your control, like the steering wheel, the direction, the speed. Can the car stop is the most important one. And so you're the driver, you've got the responsibility to look after those things. You have to watch out for other cars. You have to have a destination. You know that once you reach your destination, you can come back, you can return home. So this kind of similarity of this spiritual path was mentioned. It was quite nice. Thanks. Yeah, so if there's any tips from Prashant about how to stay on that path, that would be great. Maybe Sarah's got some ideas, I don't know.
Yeah, I think just one thing comes up is enjoying the journey as well. Like when something's enjoyable, it's easy to keep going. And energy which is sustainable is energy of play, which helps because the whole thing is requiring both sides of the brain in a way. We need the dedication, the seriousness, the focus and concentration, which is maybe you might call it left side of the brain, the more analytical processing knowledge, but we need the other side, which is the right brain, the synthesis, the bigger picture, and the experiences in meditation of the background of safety of the soul, and everything is good, that all are victorious, all are souls, which is incredible revelation that soul is safe. In that backdrop, we can manage other things, the details and the expansion of knowledge, but keep coming back to the simplicity and the essence and lightness. That if you feel something is getting heavy, know that its ego is there. And that's okay, because ego will come, that's fine. But know that it as a process is also light, and keeping good company, coming back to environments online or in person if you can as well, that you are inspired by, and you can also inspire, because whatever you've attained, you're also offering that to the world, which is a beautiful thing. Nice to hear from Prashant. What helps you in your driving and navigation of this?
No, that is very clear. Thank you. And nice to hear from your group, Peter. I'd like to remember that image of the train that is going off the rails, and the passengers are having a party. So this is the option everyone has got on this planet. Either stay in the party or get out of the train before it is too late. It may be already late, but the way it is happening. So in this process, we saw that any kind of bondage in this train is like a knot and will prevent. So it's a nice game, as was mentioned just now. That's a fun process. Is a process of fun where you are coming out of this, making it easy for others to come out of it. As the water level rises, more would like to run to come out, and it may be too late at that time. So when going is good, you discover there are enough cakes on the other side. The cakes in the train are not the only cakes. Biggest success of Maya is to creates such a block that the prince cannot see the prince. He can only see the idea. The biggest attainment for him is a successful beggar with more coins. That is the biggest achievement from Maya. So our job is to give a glimpse of the prince, and that becomes a strength for the soul to say, what am I doing here in this begging club? Yeah, excellent. So the nice word to remember, the word eternal prince, and life with King of Kings.
You actually inadvertently, I think, answered a question in the chat about how we experience God's presence more clearly, and this perspective of this eternal prince. It's no vibration of taking from this drama around that the role should be somehow secured, liked, praised, approved of, etc., etc. So many ways. But when we are touching this space, we can access, even if it's a few seconds of the prince, then the world of the king, and this who the soul is doesn't need to be fulfilled or completed by this physical story world. That I don't know if that answers the question for the one who wrote it, but a very nice question and something to reflect on further, I think, for all of us. So yes, did Prashant want to, this was concluding, anything you'd like to say as a ongoing homework or?
No, in one sense, the revision, those who are very new to these ideas, revision of these sessions will be definitely useful, going through all the 10 sessions. But we also got the subsequent sessions, follow-up sessions. These happen every 3 weeks, and you're very welcome to join these sessions.
Yes. So the next one is actually next weekend. So we will be sending you information by email. But if you're in Cambridge or near Cambridge, we'll be in touch. It will be lovely to connect. And if you're outside of Cambridge, we can put a link to help you find the local centre if you're not already connected. And it would be very nice to follow up with all of you and on the online retreats in parallel. So yeah, it's an opportunity to thank everyone, because you're all inspiring us and just with the creativity and newness that comes from each of these retreats. And also big thanks to the translation team and the co-hosting team and our guest speakers. So we're going to share the details of the follow-up now on the screen, and we'll share it at the end and by email. So it's called Game of Life, rather on the note of play, and same timings, 10 a.m. to 12 noon UK time. We also have a database in English and Spanish, and you'll get the details of the retreats every month, which are for the advanced students who've completed Sanjeevani. So finally, we'll finish with a song, and we look forward to connecting again soon, either in person or online. And wish you all the well, and enjoy the game. Playing to win. Have fun. See you soon.
Hope echoes in the footfalls of our minds. together to make a better place to live. Love etched upon our feelings once again, as we ride the rays of giving to the change. Let it shine through our eyes, let it burn in our hearts, let it bring a new day, let it show us our parts, let it be anything that can make us as one. But you can't put your name on the sun, on the sun. Trust another person's dignity as yours, buoyed upon good wishes to improve. Give like petals joined together in a flower, like flowers reaching upwards to the light. Let it shine through our eyes, let it burn in our hearts, let it bring a new day, let it show us our parts, let it be anything that can make us as one. But you can't put your name on the sun. No, you can't write your name